Donald, nice to see you.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your wins last night.
Yeah, it was a great evening.
Always more fun to win, isn't it?
It's much better. We've had it both ways. Much better.
All right. Republican Party. Who is the leader of the Republican Party today? You're the presumptive nominee, not the nominee yet, and we've got the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan. So who's the leader?
Well, I would say Paul Ryan. I mean, I would really think that. I'm doing very well. I'm leading in every category, and I think I'm going to have a record number of votes. I already have a record number of votes, come to think of it, and millions of votes, more than they had 4 years ago, many millions of votes more, and I think I've set the all-time record for votes gotten by a Republican candidate, but I would say Paul for the time being, and maybe for a long time.
Okay. Tomorrow you're going to meet with Paul Ryan and with Reince Priebus. What's the goal?
I think just unity, and we'll see how it goes, and I think it'll go well. Paul is a good person. I don't know Paul well, and I think that's part of the meeting. We have to get to know. Don't forget, he knew everybody else because they're governors, they're senators. I am a businessman, and I think we want to get to know each other. I think we want to see if we have the same ideas, because I represent a large group of people with very strong ideas and foundations, and I think we want to see a little bit about that. And hopefully it'll work out. We're going to have a very successful campaign. The polls have been, through the roof. In fact, I guess over the last 3 days, they've gone up amazingly. I'm now winning in Ohio and winning in a lot of places. So it's been a very interesting week.
Can you have unity with Speaker Ryan when you have differences on immigration and entitlements, which are very important topics to the Republican Party and to the rest of the nation? And I think probably he thinks you should probably tone it down a bit on your language. I
think you can. I mean, we can always have differences. No matter what you have, you're going to have differences. If you agree on 70%, that's always a lot. But we will have, I'm a strong border person, and so are millions of people, obviously, because that's one of the reasons I'm here. That's one of the reasons you're interviewing me instead of one of the people that you no longer can interview. It wouldn't make sense. So, yeah, I think you can, actually, Greta. I think you can.
You mentioned those other people. Some of them signed the pledge and aren't going to endorse you, or said they haven't. Your thought on that?
Well, they're dishonorable people. I mean, anybody that signs the pledge, I can think of Jeb Bush signed the pledge, and he's not going to honor it, so that's a dishonorable person. Now, I would imagine he will ultimately honor it because they wanted me to sign the pledge. Everybody wanted me. I was the big one that everybody wanted me to sign.
Well, you held off at
You remember
first.
With the raising of your hand and the whole thing. And so I end up signing the pledge, and then these people don't honor it. I think that somebody like Lindsey Graham will end up signing the pledge, because I actually think he's an honorable person, and I think he will sign the pledge. I think that Jeb, I don't know what he's going to do.
Going back to immigration and Speaker Ryan, I heard today that you had at least discussed a possible immigration commission. Is that right?
I'm looking at it very strongly with Rudy Giuliani heading it.
Has he said he would?
I've spoken to him a little while ago. We're going to put together a group of probably 5 or 6 people, very, very highly thought of people, and I think Rudy will head it up. And we'll look at the Muslim ban, or temporary ban as we call it, and we'll look at some other things on immigration, and I have a lot of confidence in Rudy Giuliani.
Have you decided whether you're back off on the ban? And I realize there's a ban, it was a temporary ban, but with an unlimited, that temporary period could go on forever the way
No, it was never meant to be. I mean, that's why it was temporary. Sure, I'd back off on it. I'd like to back off as soon as possible, because frankly, I would like to see something happen, but we have to be vigilant. There is a radical Islamic terrorism problem that, our president doesn't even want to talk about. All you have to do is take a look at the World Trade Center, take a look at San Bernardino or Paris, what a disaster that was, and so many other locations. Just last night in Germany, look what happened on the train. And it's a big problem. We're going to have to solve the problem. But I think by putting together a commission, a group of people that are highly respected in this field, like Rudy and others, I think that could lead to something pretty good.
The ban, the way it's described, even as a temporary ban, would have, for instance, barred Amir Hekmati, the Marine who was over in Iran, held prisoner. He wouldn't be able to come back, and the Muslims who were serving in our military overseas, they wouldn't come back.
No, they would all come back. I mean, we have exceptions, and again, it's temporary, and ultimately, it's my aim to have it lifted. Now, right now, there is no ban. But I would like to see, there has to be an idea, there has to be something. because there are some pretty bad things going on. And I have Muslim friends, great Muslim friends, who are telling me, you are so right, there's something going on that we have to get to the bottom of it. So we'll see what happens. But so I think by putting 5, 6, or 7 people together that really they have an expertise in the field, I think that would be good. And Rudy's a smart guy, he's a tough guy, he gets it, he understands the problem, and he's willing to talk about the problem. And he will head it up, and he's agreed to do so.
All right, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but so it's a ban on Muslims with exceptions, and that would be temporary.
Always, you have to have exceptions.
Okay, well, the way that everybody read it was across the table.
No, you'd have exceptions, and ideally you won't have a ban very long. I mean, we just have to find out what's happening. I mean, you take a look at what's happening. I'm not just talking here, I'm talking about all over the world. You look at Germany, it's a mess. You look at Sweden, where they have a section that they just started. It's a total mess. I mean, something has to happen.
I guess it's the constitutional implication that certainly is why I'm pressing you on
we'll
this.
take a look. I mean, I am, as far as the Syrians coming in, thousands and thousands of Syrians coming in from the migration. We have to build a safe zone. We have to do something. I'll get, frankly, the Gulf states to put up money, and they'll be willing to put it up. I guarantee you they'll put it up, because they haven't put up much right now. And I don't want to spend the money on it because our country doesn't have any money. We're $19 trillion in the hole. We're going to be $21 trillion very, very soon because of the budgets that were recently passed, the omnibus budget, etc. And we're really a nation that doesn't have the money. We have to pay off debt, not create more debt. So we will get a safe zone someplace in Syria, or numerous safe zones, and we'll build, and we'll use other people's money, meaning other countries' money, the Gulf states in particular, and we'll do something very good. But I am absolutely against having more people flowing into this country. No documentation, no papers, no nothing. Nobody knows where they come from. And this is what Obama's taken them, tens of thousands. Hillary Clinton wants to double and triple the effort. She wants to do it even more so. And we will have problems like you've never seen before if we do that.
All right, tax returns. You said that you don't intend to release your tax returns, and
No, I didn't say that.
Okay.
I said I'm being audited. I'm being audited.
What about the returns that aren't being audited? The years
No, there's a link, but it goes way back.
How far back are you being audited?
I don't know. I'd have to ask, but quite a long enough that it would matter. And there's a link between that and other things. And as soon as the audit's finished, I'd love to.
Link
it's just a relatively simple audit. And I'll tell you what's unfair. Every year for many years I've been audited. And I have friends that are very rich that don't get audited. They never get audited. I get audited every single year. And I think it's actually very unfair.
Do you think it's deliberate, intentionally being singled?
I don't know, but I know this. I have friends that are very wealthy people. I say, how often do you get audited? They didn't even know what I meant. They're never audited. I'm audited every single year. And I think it's very unfair.
If your audit goes back 7 years, would you release the 8th year back? Would you be willing to do that?
Well, number one, it would be meaningless. I'd have to find out how far back it goes. But number one, when you go back 8 years, it gets to be.
I know, but people are suspicious. But people are suspicious that you're not releasing because in January of 2012, you said to me that Mitt Romney was making a big mistake by not releasing his. So naturally, that's become a flashpoint.
No, but he wasn't under audit. I'm under audit. No lawyer would say release it when you're under audit. And these are very simple audits.
I agree. I'm a lawyer. I wouldn't have someone, but I
no, if you represented me and I'm under audit and it's a routine
I'd tell you
audit,
not to release.
You would
I
say
agree.
not release.
If I were your lawyer.
So the answer is I'll release. Hopefully before the election I'll release, and I'd like to release. By the way, you learn very little from a tax return. I've released my financials, and my financials show tremendous numbers, very little debt, all of that. You don't learn very much from a tax return.
Part of the thing to do with releasing, though, is it dispels that argument that there's something going on that you're not doing it. It takes the mystery off it.
You don't learn anything. A tax return, you learn very, very little. I mean, I've released highly complex, detailed financials in line with the Federal Elections Commission. We put them in, I think it's 99 pages or close to 100 pages of detail saying what a great company I built. I built a company with very little debt. All of this stuff is certified numbers, very, very little debt, tremendous cash flow, tremendous value, great assets. I mean, that's something, and people go over that and they're very impressed. You learn very little from a tax return. But here's the thing, Greta. When you're under audit, and you just said it as a lawyer,
I totally agree. If you were my client and you were under audit, I'd say don't release it. But I just think there's some years outside the audit that might be released at least to get rid of the.
First of all, if there are, they're meaningless. Okay, it doesn't matter because they're so far back. But at the right time, I'll release them. I hope to release them. I'd like to release them. But when I'm under audit, I can't do that.
All right. Terrible situation in Baghdad today. 3 bombs went off. There are about 100 people killed. Probably be more killed, more die from their injuries within a short time. If you're president today and you get the news, you get awakened, what do you do?
Well, look, the war in Iraq is a disaster. I was against it from the beginning. We should have never been there. I always have to preface it by saying that was bad judgment.
There. I mean, we
Hillary
had 5,000
Clinton had
troops
bad
there.
judgment. She raised her hand. Bad judgment on email. She's got bad judgment on everything. We should have never been there. Okay, now we're there. We have a crooked government. We have a government that's dishonest as hell. The money is being squandered and stolen, and the oil is being stolen, and everything is a mess. And now they have probably ISIS going in and bombing the hell out of the place with these horrible bombs that kill lots of innocent people. It is a hellhole. It's a mess. It's something we should have never been involved in. Now we're involved. What are you going to do? You have to be very tough. You have to be very stringent, but you have a government there that's totally corrupt. You have a bunch of corrupt people in that government, and the whole thing is a shame.
All right, that's the problem. What do we do? We've got 5,000 troops there now, and I mean, if you're president, do you do more or do less? What do you do?
You got to get rid
watch?
of ISIS,
What?
but when it's not ISIS, it'll be somebody else. I mean, look, we have been over there for so many years. We've spent probably now it's up to $5 trillion in the Middle East. $5 trillion in the Middle East. At some point, we have to get the hell out. You know, with ISIS, you're going to get them, you'll knock them out. There'll be somebody else. It's going to continue to form. It's a mess, and we have to get rid of ISIS. You know, they chop off the heads and they drown the people in cages, and we have to do it, and they blow up people. Probably this was ISIS or ISIS related that took place in Baghdad. But at some point, we have to get back to our country. Our infrastructure is falling apart. Our highways, our roads, our bridges, our tunnels, our airports, they're falling apart. We're like a third world country. $5 trillion. We could have rebuilt our country and had plenty of money left over.
Now it's the million-dollar question, maybe even the billion-dollar question. Who will Donald Trump pick to be his running mate? Trump dropped some clues. All right, Vice President. Everyone's. I know that you haven't told anybody who your Vice President is. You probably haven't made the decision yourself. You're
I actually haven't.
You haven't made. Okay, good. Well, how big is the universe? Is it 5 or 6, or is
I'd
it
say
down
5
to
or 6 or 7, maybe.
Okay, let's a few more kids. Any women in that group?
Actually, yes.
Okay. Last night, Governor Jan Brewer said to me that she thought you ought to look at Governor Mary Fallin in Oklahoma. Is she one of the women?
Well, and also Jan. I mean, Jan Brewer has been fantastic. She has been so fantastic, and I won so big her territory, and we won so big, and she's a fabulous woman. And I agree with you, Governor of Oklahoma, fabulous person.
All right, Governor Christie, is he still sort of in there?
I don't want to say in there, but he's helping me, and he was an early endorsement and a very enthusiastic one, and he's a friend of mine, and he's a very good guy and a talented guy, and he's helping us a lot.
All right, one last question. You told me once before you're looking for someone who has experience in government.
Most likely.
And I've seen a lot of that, so that hasn't changed.
No, most likely. I mean, I have one that maybe could fit the role very nicely, that would not be really government related as much, but I do like the concept of we're going to be passing legislation. We're not going to try and do all the executive orders like Obama. He can't get anything passed, so he just keeps
no
signing
executive orders? But you're not going to do executive orders?
Well, we may be forced. We'll see. I mean, it depends on what, but President Obama is signing a lot of executive orders. Nobody ever heard of an executive order before. I mean, I know Bush signed them and other people signed them, but all of a sudden it's like this major event to get things done. It would be nice to go back to the old-fashioned way. It's called passing legislation, having people get together and pass legislation. So I like the idea of somebody helping me with that, somebody very political.
All right. The convention, we hear it's going to be spectacular. Different than the other conventions, or the same? And what
I think it'll be a spectacular convention. We're involved. I'd like to actually bring some entertainment. I mean, you hear a lot of speeches and people start falling asleep after the 19th speech. So if we could bring some great entertainment, we have some incredible country and Western people. I happen to love that, but we have some great country and Western people that want to come in. We have some great entertainers that want to come in. Now, some want to come in, but they can't because they happen to be on the other side of the ledger. You know, it's a little bit tough. But we have some great entertainers that want to come in.
Any thought on a keynote? Who would be inspiring to have as a keynote speaker?
we actually have some thought as keynote speakers, and I think we're going to have a very good one. But I have to keep this a surprise, Greta. We don't want to.
I told you it's a parlor game. We all play guess. I'm trying to get some clues, like the parlor game.
And the vice president, whoever that may be, and I think it'll be somebody that'll be very good. Whoever that may be will be announced sometime during the convention. I want to keep it that way. That's the way it's been typically. Keep a little suspense at least, right?
Donald, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Greta.
Well, another one of the big names that has been thrown around for Trump's vice president
is Donald Trump. He joins us on the line. Donald Trump, do you think you had something to do with Budweiser changing the name of their beer for the summer from Budweiser to America?
I think so. They're so impressed with what our country will become that they decided to do this before the fact.
They got to get a taste of that. By the way, congratulations. You had a couple of big wins last night.
Yeah, it was great. 2 great states and great people, and we really appreciate it.
How about what's going on in West Virginia? You have the exit polls. I don't know if you've been listening to the show. We've been talking about these exit polls. People are walking out. These are Democrats. They're registered Democrats, so they had to go to the polls yesterday. They couldn't vote for you. They had to choose between Bernie and Hillary. Bernie wins there. They're coming out, and they're saying now that they would vote for you, Democrats, versus Hillary if it comes down to the two of you guys.
Well, I've heard that, and I've seen that, and I'm not that surprised. We had a rally in West Virginia. It was unbelievable. We had probably 25,000, 30,000 people all told, and it was just an incredible evening. It was under the spirit and everything, and we're going to put the miners back to work. It's horrible what's happened, and we're going to just put them back to work. And Hillary said, we're going to close the mines, we're going to close up the jobs, we're going to, I don't even know how she can get any votes, frankly, if you want to know the truth, and frankly, she's not getting too many.
Right,
but
and
she's got problems. She's got a lot of problems. You look at this crazy Bernie character, you look at him and you see what's going on, and she's got some difficulty. There's no question about it.
I just wanted to clarify. It was 1/3 of the people, the Democrats, were asked who they would vote for between Donald and Hillary, and 1/3 of them said they'd vote for you.
And
that's pretty good. I like that number. I really.
I bet.
Considering they're supposed to be Bernie people and they're going to vote for me, I like that.
Right. Sure. So do you think it's time for your team to game plan against Bernie Sanders? Because if you look at the New York Post today, they have a point. Bernie Sanders now won 19 states, and they basically have a fun headline, but based on fact, stop the coronation. So do you have to game plan against Bernie, and if there's an indictment against Biden?
Well, everything really about Hillary is rigged. She looks like she's going to be able to run. That sounds to me like, how can she run with what she did with emails? So that's maybe rigged. Who knows what's going on? The Democrats seem to control it. It's a horrible thing. And the election, every time you see it, I call him Crazy Bernie because he's not very good, but probably beating him would be easier. Who's going to run against a socialist and lose? He's a socialist. You're going to pay 95% tax. But I'd love to run against him in one way, but there's something about running against Hillary that I really do.
Sure, I understand that.
Just real quick, Donald, but he does better against you head-to-head than Hillary does.
Well, I know, but I've never hit him, don't forget. I haven't started on him. I haven't said anything about him. I would start. Maybe I'm going to have to start based on, I just see he wins, and then everybody sits around the table saying he can't win.
Well, you did tweet about Crazy Bernie today, and suddenly that's trending. So apparently you had some impact on him. The thing about Hillary Clinton in West Virginia, though, she won by a landslide in 2008 against Barack Obama, and she got smoked by Bernie Sanders yesterday. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who runs the DNC, was on with Bret Baier last night about 11:20, and he said, here's Bret Baier asking, hey, this is embarrassing for Hillary, right? Listen to what Debbie Wasserman Schultz had to say to Bret.
Talk about embarrassing. What's embarrassing is that the Republican presumptive nominee, Donald Trump, doesn't have the support of the Speaker, his own Speaker of the House, doesn't have support of either Bush president, has many United States senators and candidates questioning or outright rejecting that they're going to attend their own party's convention because Donald Trump is radioactive, and they know it.
Okay, so she didn't answer the question. What would you like to say about what she just said?
First of all, I think she's a terrible spokesperson. I just hope she stays in that position because I want her to be speaking against me. I think I'm doing very fine with Paul Ryan. I have a lot of respect for Paul Ryan. We're going to have a meeting tomorrow. We'll see what happens. If we make a deal, that'll be great. And if we don't, we will trudge forward like I've been doing and winning, all the time. Now, I will say this. If you look at the vote count, in the history of the Republican Party, I've got more votes than anybody else running for president. And by the way, we have plenty of states left, which I'll win. So we have plenty of states left. And I do have tremendous support within the party. Now, I'm not going to have the Bushes because I hit Jeb very hard. But remember, I hit him hard. Why did I hit him hard? He spent $12 billion on negative ads on me. Everyone says, oh, you hit Jeb so hard, you know, the low-energy stuff. The truth is, Jeb Bush spent $12 million on horrible, negative, and very false ads. They weren't even true on me. And then when I hit him, people say, oh, gee, you hit him hard. So I can understand the Bush family sitting it out. I've been, you know, I did a good job, frankly, on this.
Yeah, but what about Jeb taking the pledge?
Well, he lied. I mean, he outright lied. Look, everybody wanted me to take the pledge. So I took the pledge that I would support whoever won. Okay, good. So I took the pledge. Now you have guys like Jeb and lightweight Lindsey Graham, who's a total lightweight. I mean, he totally failed in his campaign, and he does nothing but go on television to speak badly of me. I mean, he's supposed to be running military policy. He said, I've been doing this for years against ISIS. That's
Right.
why, that's the problem we have. Guys like that with the thinking, his thinking is so far off.
Right.
That's why we're getting nowhere with ISIS. That's why ISIS is essentially winning because of, you know, minds like this.
But the thing is, Lindsey Graham has no power. It's the President Obama who's winning or losing against ISIS.
No, but he sets a strategy. They all set it together.
No one
he
listens
sets
to
a
him.
strategy, and nobody listens to him. And frankly, if they did listen to him, it wouldn't get. But he also took the pledge, and he, you know, so it's very dishonorable.
okay.
You know, when you take a pledge and you don't follow the pledge, that's very dishonorable. But that's okay.
Right.
That's
You never
their
know.
problem.
People come around. People won't come around. We'll find out about Paul Ryan. Now, some of the things that Paul Ryan has said in the past that he might have issues with you that will come up tomorrow, we think, you would imagine, was about the, we've learned that the wall, the way it's read by Hispanics is maybe negative. The Muslim ban is another thing. The fact that you didn't disavow David Duke quick enough also bothers him. Those are amongst the things that we learned that Paul Ryan has issues with. Are you willing to talk about that?
Well, I disavowed David Duke very rapidly, and I disavowed him on Twitter and everything else. I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine that being a problem because he was disavowed. The wall is the wall. People want the wall. Drugs are pouring into our country, and you know, the wall is something that people want and the Republican Party wants. And forget about polling because I don't care about polling. I do what's right. But the wall is the wall, and it's going to be built, and the Mexicans are going to pay for it. And I'll tell you, it's going to happen. Mexico is going to pay for it.
Vicente Fox,
What about the temporary Muslim ban?
Well, we have a ban. There are obviously some very bad things going on, and we're going to figure out what's going on, and we're going to be very, very careful. We're allowing Syrians to come in here. We have no idea who they are. We have no paperwork. There's no documentation. They're pouring into the country, our country, by the thousands. You see what's happening in Germany. It's a mess. You look at Sweden and some of these other countries that are taking them. It's a total mess. And I want to be very, very careful. So I'm going to be extremely vigilant and careful.
But careful is one thing, but also you also have saluted the Kurds in the past. You also mentioned the London mayor who just won an election that you wish him the best. So to make a swooping comment about all Muslims and Donald Trump disliking them, that's not correct either, correct?
It's a temporary ban, Brian, and we're going to look at it and we're going to study a problem. We have a problem. Now, if you don't want to discuss the problem, then we're never going to solve the problem. We have a president that won't even use the term radical Islamic terrorism. He won't even use the term. He refuses to say the term, even after Paris, where 130 people were killed, or San Bernardino, or any other place. I mean, he refuses. Our president refuses to discuss the term, and it's a real problem, not only here but throughout the world. It's a real problem. So we'll figure it out, and we will get it going. But we have to be extremely careful. In fact, I'm thinking about setting up a commission, perhaps headed by Rudy Giuliani, to take a very serious look at this problem. But this is a worldwide problem, and we have to be smart.
Mm-hmm. Well, the meeting is tomorrow, and a lot of people are asking for unity, and they're ready to move forward. A lot of the GOPers are ready to move forward. You've talked last night on Bill O'Reilly's show about your VP list, narrowed it down to 5 people, and you say you're not going to announce your choice until the convention. Why is that?
Well, I just think I want to hold it. I don't have a choice yet. I have 5 or 6 people that I think would be very good. And, you know, I do get a kick out of all of these people say they've decided they don't want to do it. They weren't on the list, none of them. Everybody that talks about being, vice president, they've decided not to do it. They weren't on the list, but that's okay. What difference does it make? Let them have fun. They're politicians. Let them have a good time.
All right, but you're not going to announce till the convention. Why?
Because I think that's traditionally the way it's done, and I like tradition, and I think suspense is a good thing. And honestly, right now I'm vetting various people, and I'll make a determination sometime before the convention, probably announce it during the convention.
Okay. Donald Trump, on our email machine and the Twitter machine, you got a whole bunch of people who would like to ask you questions. Could you stick around for just through this commercial break and answer some of them?
Yes, I will. Only for Fox and Friends. I will do that.
There you go. All right. So if you got a question for Donald Trump, email us friends@foxnews.com or tweet us. All right, Donald Trump is on the line with us right now. A number of comments online. Donald Trump, a lot of people are asking about your opinion regarding Facebook, if it is true that they seem to have a bias against conservatives where they intentionally suppress articles from the conservative sources.
Well, it's terrible. If it's true, it's terrible. I'm hearing more and more that they're doing that, and, they deny it, or they're trying to deny it, but I've heard from many people that they're doing that. That would be terrible.
It's impactful because a lot of people look at the Facebook news feed. Here's what other
and they think it's news.
Yeah, and they think it's news. They think this is actually trending.
They're selecting what's news and what's not, in their opinion.
I haven't found it. I must tell you, I have, close to 8 million followers on Facebook, too, and Twitter even more, but I have not found it. I have heard about it. I have not found it.
All right. Harold says this. We asked the viewers to tweet in, email in. Harold tweets and says, I'm a veteran getting the runaround for back surgery. What will you specifically do to make the system better?
The system for the veterans is terrible. It's so broken. You look at Phoenix, you look at New Hampshire, you look at different places where I've been and spent so much time, and it's broken. And what we're going to do is, where they have waits, I don't know if you know, Brian, but people are waiting online for 5, 6, 7 days just to see a doctor. We're going to make it possible for them to go out and see local doctors, local private hospitals or public hospitals, whatever's available, pay the bill. It's going to be so much cheaper. People are going to get care, and they're going to get care immediately. We have people dying while they're waiting online. It takes so long to see it. And they're actually dying while they're waiting. That's not going to happen anymore. We're going to take care of our vets, believe me.
All right, this next person on Twitter, Hosea, is that how we pronounce it, Hosea, wrote in and said, you said that Carson was helping to develop policies on education and health care. Any highlights to disclose?
No, but he is. Ben Carson's a great guy and a friend of mine. And, it was so beautiful to see. He just loved what was happening with my campaign, and he called it a movement. He said, Donald, this is a movement. It's an amazing thing. And he's going to be involved a lot. He's also looking, along with Corey and Paul and myself and a lot of people, frankly, but also looking at vice presidential potential candidates. And Ben's very much involved, and he will be very much involved in those subjects, too.
On to another, Ben. Somebody tweeted, do you have a nickname reserved yet for Nebraska Senator Ben Sass, who will not support you?
Republican.
Well, I haven't done that yet. I had a huge victory last night in Nebraska by a lot. He's a very nasty person. I mean, he's got a nasty mouth, but, not too many people know him. But he's a nasty guy.
So no nickname yet?
No, I have no nickname yet. I hopefully I won't need one. Maybe eventually we'll get along. But so far he's been a nasty guy.
All right. Donald Trump, thank you very much for joining us today. Good luck tomorrow up on Capitol Hill.
Okay, thank you very much.
You bet.